right, everybody, welcome back to the Canadian Ruck. Happy 2021. Happy New Year. This is Jamie Gray, and very lucky today we got Cindy Nelles joining us. Cindy is back row, second row for Team Canada. She got 19 caps at the moment. She earned a civil engineering degree while playing 40 years at McMaster University. She's currently playing for Canterbury in New Zealand, where she just scored the winning try for the Fair Palmer Cup. I shouldn't say just, it was back in November, and her season play in that game helped her get a stint with New Zealand Barbarians as they played against the Black Ferns, which was really cool. And she was also 2015 University Women's Player of the Year. So Cindy will be coming up very soon. Just a little plug. Contact information: Twitter at Canadian Ruck, Instagram _Canadian_Ruck, Facebook at the Canadian Ruck, and our email is thecanadianruck@gmail.com. Always open if you have suggestions, if you have thoughts, if you have any comments you want me to ask some of my guests. Love to hear from you. Remember, though, to watch, we're on YouTube. To listen, we're on Spotify, iTunes, Google Podcasts, and CastBox. Make sure you're watching, listening, follow, subscribing, and sharing the messages, which is awesome. And lastly, we have our own website, thecanadianruck.weebly.com. You'll find a host of information there. Great little starting point if you're trying to find specific things. It's a great little tool for you. In rugby news, not a lot happening here that I thought was worthy. One thing, though, what I thought was, you tell me, is this funny or serious? In a France D2 game over the weekend, a player was red carded. Take a watch. And keep hitting the wrong one. Just take a look and let me know your thoughts here. So as you can see, team in white wins. This big bloke here celebrates with lifting the ref. Ref gives him a nice red card for that. It's the end of the match. Game's over. And that was determined that he needs a red card. Is it red card worthy? Hands on an official, maybe some hint of collusion during the match. I don't know. Maybe it was just jubilation from the win. Either way, in my opinion, I don't think you can be doing this. You can't be celebrating with the ref. Doesn't send a really nice message. Sure, you're excited, but why lift the ref? Why not just grab one of your teammates and lift one of them? Either way, Buddy's red carded. I don't think he was too happy about it. He had that little smirking laugh on, but it is what it is. Ref gave him the red card, and he is gone. Interesting, I guess. Locally, Major League Rugby training camps are starting very soon. We want to wish the best to all our players that are starting up, particularly those who we've had on as past guests, and there's been a number of them on. We just wish you, we want you to stay healthy. We want you to play well and hard. And we want you to avoid the COVID down in the States, in Toronto, because it's still running rampant. And speaking of that, things have been getting worse in the Maritimes and throughout Canada. COVID's been on an uptick. We've been seeing a lot of outbreaks after the Christmas season's been over. A lot of people, going to gatherings and things like that, and we're starting to see the effects of that now. UK is still getting hit hard. US is still getting hit hard. New Zealand, however, has recently declared COVID-free. Great on them. They've been doing a great job. One of our soon upcoming guests is an expert in COVID. We're going to have Dr. Robert Strang, who's the Chief Medical Advisor for the province of Nova Scotia. He also played for Rugby Canada back in the 80s, which is a really neat tie-in. And he's going to be on here shortly. We're still trying to line up a date to chat, but it should be coming up soon. It should be a really interesting convo with Dr. Strang and myself, talking about rugby and maybe a little bit about COVID. I don't know if we'll get into that or not, but it should be a good talk. Anyway, that's enough from me. And now you're going to get to hear from Cindy Nelles. So Canadian Ruck welcomes Canadian icon who's playing down in New Zealand right now and working as well. We welcome Cindy Nelles to the Ruck This Pod. Welcome, Cindy. Thank you for showing up.
Awesome. Thanks for having me.
All right. I want to get right into this because small town girl, Belleville, Ontario, you're now working in New Zealand. Talk to us about how you got involved in rugby. I mean, you earned a civil engineering degree at McMaster while you're playing rugby. How did all that transpire? That can't be simple. I mean, a civil engineering degree on its own is painstakingly hard. Yet I'm going to play rugby as well, and I'll toil with the national team. How did that all come out?
Well, first of all, I'll say I didn't know what I was getting myself into. But I had people tell me like, oh, you can't do it. You can't do engineering and rugby. And I was like, what? What are they talking about? Like, I'll be fine. I can do it. So yeah, I didn't know what I was getting myself into. And then once I got there, I realized that I just needed to take it easy and not overdo it. So usually engineering is squished into 4 years, and I spread mine out over five. I was like 5 years of eligibility, 5 years of engineering. Seems like it's going to work out for me. So yeah, that really enabled me to actually learn the content as well, which I think a lot of people get through engineering and then they go, what did I just learn? And then dive into work and then relearn it again. So I was pretty fortunate in the fact that I was able to actually take time to learn and then also balance my rugby with that.
So how did you get started before you got to university? Like, were you playing high school there in Belleville, or were you playing like women's league? Was there high school teams?
Yeah, so I started with the Belleville Bulldogs. They had a touch rugby league for kids, like, kind of grade 4 to 8, so like 10 to 13 years old, kind of. It was started by Pete Herkus, I believe. And so, yeah, I played touch rugby before I got to high school, so that gave me a nice competitive edge. Once I got to high school, I was like, okay, I've seen this ball before. I know some of these rules. So then when I was in high school, all I had to do was piece in the tackle. And then, yeah, off to the races from there. In high school, in the Belleville area, they have junior and senior. I know in some areas in Ontario, they just have varsity, like kind of the whole years 9 to 12 playing on one team, but we had a junior and senior. So it was kind of a nice way too to kind of get my feet under me, play junior, and then when I got to grade 11, then play senior from there. And then, yeah, I started at number 8 and played 8 throughout high school. And when I was after my first year, so after grade 9, I was playing rugby in the summer instead of soccer. So I used to play soccer in the summers. And then once I discovered rugby, I was like, oh, I could play rugby. And so I signed up for the under 19 team my first summer. And then the next summer after that, I tried out for the Ontario U17 team. I played women's rugby as well as under 19. So I pretty much had rugby 6 days a week and I loved it. It would be Monday, I had under 19s, and then Tuesday and Thursday was women's. Wednesday was more under 19s. Friday was off, but I worked a part-time job at McDonald's, so I really wasn't off. And then Saturday is a rugby day, so we had a game, and then Sunday would be Ontario. So it was full on, and I just loved every minute of it.
That's all. It sounds like you kind of fell for it as soon as you touched a rugby ball back in like the middle school ages.
Yeah,
And
it
you
was just so much fun.
kept going. So before I get to the next question, I just some people watch this on YouTube, some just listen. But if you're watching on YouTube, if you notice over Cindy's left shoulder, she felt a little. That's right. Yeah, that's the perfect way. She made her own little Canadian Ruck logo with a little heart. So that's the first time that's happened. That's awesome. And she's in New Zealand and she's wearing her Canadian plaid. Like, I mean, you can't get any more Canadian than this. So this is awesome. So if you're listening, make sure you watch this one too on YouTube. So
yeah, check it out. I got a bit jealous of your nice poster in the background, so I had to come up with my own impromptu swag.
great banner supplied by Eastern Art Supplies in St. John, New Brunswick. If you need some art supplies, that's where you go. Nice little plug for my buddy Coin. All right. I want you to walk us through a first cap. I read a bit of an article there, but I want to hear it from your words because I read that you had like 2 days to make it to France for a match back in like 2014 for your first test cap.
Okay, so my first cap was actually in a Can-Am camp. So I'd done a couple of training camps with the senior women's team kind of when I was like 18, 19, 20. And so I'd done a couple of training camps, and that was when John Tate was the head coach. And then they switched head coaches, and Francois Ratier became head coach. And then I didn't get invited to the next kind of camp. And so I was like, oh, okay, well, I guess maybe I'm not as good as I was hoping I could be here. Maybe they don't want to develop me and they've got different plans, like kind of shrug my shoulders and just kind of carry on. And then my coach at university, Sean Allen, actually said, "Oh, like you don't know Francois? Okay, well, like I'll make sure that I introduce you." We'd gone out to BC for the sevens, like university sevens championship that year, and he's like, "Okay, I'll make sure like that I introduce you, so at least you have a name to the face, and whatever happens, happens." I was like, "Okay," and so I introduced myself, said, "Hi, nice to meet you. This is kind of who I am," and blah blah blah. And he's like, "Okay, yeah, nice to meet you. I'll like keep an eye out for you." And that's like a nice way for coaches to just be like, another name, another face, sure, yeah, whatever. Like, and so I didn't expect anything of that. But then I just played well that tournament, and then later on he was like, "Okay, we'd like to invite you to come out to the training camp in April." And I was like, "Oh, great, like that's awesome. Like I'm just happy to be getting better at rugby. Like I don't expect anything, but I just want to be playing at a high level and like just getting better." And so so then I go out to training camp, and it's a Can-Am series. So we have 2 games against the Americans at Shawnigan Lake School. And first game, they picked the team, and I'm not on that roster. And I was like, okay, this is fine. Yeah, like support the girls. Like we have, so many players here. So I'm just like, again, grateful for the opportunity to be training with these players.
So how old were you? Like, were you still in university?
Yeah, I was still in university. It was 2014. So I was early 2014. So I was still 20, turning 21 kind of later that year. And so, yeah, still young in the grand scheme of things. And yeah, so then I was like, okay, just grateful to be here, watch the game. The girls beat the Americans. It was awesome. I was like, yes, great day for Canada. And so then there's, I guess, an injury in the game. And so then I got named to the next game on the roster. And I was like, oh, this is so exciting. Like, this is it. This is the moment. And then, yeah, so then I got in against the Americans, and we scraped out a win. And I remember I only played for like maybe 10 minutes. And it's the most exhausting thing. You're like, I thought I was playing fast rugby when we were playing inter-squad games, and then it just like the speed picks up a level, and you're like, oh my God, this is so much faster. Like I can't think this fast. I can't move this fast. Like everything is just happening. And so, yeah, we like in the first game against the Americans, I think pumped them like many tries to a few. And then the next game, it was like 14-12 or something, like real close, real nail biter. We were like, oh man, like, are we even going to be able to pull this one out? And so, yeah, I was just really grateful to have that experience and like be in that environment and with those players at that time.
That's awesome. That's really cool, because you're watching and then you get thrown into the second game when it's so tight, and you're probably a little nervous. Like, you're sure, coach? You sure you want me to go in? But
Yeah.
you hung on, so that's awesome.
Yeah. And so that was in about April of 2014. And then later that year, we did a tour to New Zealand. And again, I wasn't selected, and I was like upset because I was like, oh, but like I played in the last game, so like surely I should be on the team now. But as injuries go, people heal. And so yeah, so I was like, oh, I didn't get selected. I was pretty bummed out, and I was like, okay, well, I'm just like doing my thing. It's summer, whatever. And then like a week before they leave, they go, so would you like to come down to New Zealand with us? There's been another injury, or like the injury didn't heal, whatever. And so I was just like, oh, yeah. And so I called my work, and I was working at the athletics center at McMaster. And I just called them. I was like, so I'm going to go down to New Zealand for 3 weeks in about a week from now. So I'm just going to have to give away all my shifts. And they're like, okay, have fun. So I was pretty fortunate that I could be flexible in that moment. And then, yeah, again, that tour was awesome. It was like so great to get down to New Zealand and experience the culture and see kind of what the like mecca of rugby is all about. And we played 2 games against New Zealand and 1 against Australia, I believe. I think that was that tour. Yeah, I'm gonna say that. Yeah, lock it in. And yeah, it was just again another opportunity, and me just being doe-eyed and just absolutely just like amazed to be there and just so excited to have that experience. And so then come back, and then again they go to name the World Cup roster, and I think I got a call from Gary Ducolo saying like, yeah, sorry, like, unfortunately, you aren't being selected for the World Cup. And again, I was disappointed because I was like, oh, but I've played a few games. Look, I can do it. You guys trust me. It's all good. But yeah, again, I was like, oh, damn, okay, well, I guess I have years ahead of me. So just keep plugging away. And then I remember it was during nationals. We were in Ottawa, and it was like, you know, provincial teams were all just hanging out watching the World Cup happening in France. We're watching the game, and I remember watching. I think they were playing Spain first, and I remember watching, going, "Oh, there's an early substitution." I was like, "I wonder if there's been an injury." And then I was like, I wonder if they'll call me. And I was like, nah, probably not. Okay. Then I kept watching, enjoyed the game. I was like, yeah, like the girls did so well. It's so awesome. And then later that day, I got a phone call from Meg Howitt, Howie, and she just said, hey, Cindy, how's it going? Would you like to join us in France in about 3 days? I was like, yep, yeah, I could be there. Yep. And so, yeah, then like 3 days later, I was on a plane to France to go join up with the girls. And yeah, again, same thing with work. I was like, so I'm giving up on my shifts again. Thanks. And yeah, it was just such a whirlwind. And then it was cool too, because like my dad and sister were able to also drop everything and just come over to watch the games as well. So it was really cool to have them come over and be able to support me as well, and experience that too.
So that was a whirlwind of a few months there for you. And
Mm-hmm.
that 2014 squad, silvered, which it was amazing. I remember watching that semifinal game against France. Like, I still have visions of Magali Harvey scoring that beautiful try and everything.
Mm-hmm.
Talk to us, I guess, a little bit about, I guess, your time there in France. Kind of last minute, you didn't get a chance to really prep. You were, the nerves might not have been there. But then 2017, you're in Ireland and you're with the team throughout. What was the atmosphere like at those, and how was it, I guess, for you? Two completely different scenarios for you. I mean, you were 20, 21 in 2014, and 24, 25 in 2017, a little
Mm-hmm.
more wise, things like that. What was the differences like? What were some expectations you placed upon yourself?
Yeah, so for me personally, I know like it was a bit hard because I like kind of parachuted in halfway through the tournament in 2014. So I again come in fresh and like doe-eyed. I'm like, hey guys, how's it going? What's going on? And they're all like, 2 weeks, 3 weeks already there, and they're kind of like starting to feel the grind of being away from home and not being in your usual routine. And so um I was a bit taken aback, being like, okay, like you need to dial it back. You need to calm down a bit and just kind of like give the team what they need. And so I, bless her little soul, but I ended up coming in for Barbara Mervyn, and she'd broken her hand, and I like, she's just a legend. She's an absolute beauty. And I just remember I come up and she's like in her room, kind of like packing up her things or whatever, or like we were talking. And the way she'd broken her hand, it looked like she was giving someone the finger. And I was like, oh, Barbara, it's kind of funny. It looks like you're giving someone the finger. She just goes, yeah. And like, I was like, oh God, I've crossed a line here. Like, I gotta go. And I just felt so bad for her, because it was like, that was the end of her like World Cup run. That was it for her. And so I was just like, oh my God, like, I'm so sorry. Like, I just couldn't backpedal out of the situation fast enough. And so, but yeah, credit to her. She's just an absolute beauty, and was just like, yeah, sorry, I was just in a dark place. Like, it's all good.
It's
And
fair.
it was definitely a very difficult place for me to be in that tournament, because you go into it hoping to get an opportunity to play, hoping to get field time or a shot, hoping to have a chance. But then in reality, you kind of know that it's like, you're this far down the depth chart right now. And like, it's the World Cup. They're not here to like grow players. They're here to perform. This is like where we need to peak. And so it was funny because every game, Francois would come by and say like, you're not playing this game. Sorry, like you're not dressing. And every time I would be really upset. And I was like, this is coming. Like, why does it still make you so upset? But it's because you want that chance so badly, and you want that opportunity. And so for me, that was like a really, I want to say, humbling process, because it just allows you to acknowledge like, okay, yeah, you've got a lot of growing to do still, and you've got a lot of work to do still, and you're still here, you still have these opportunities, but you need to work, and like now is not necessarily your time. Like keep pushing, keep focused, and like just stay optimistic. So that was kind of like 2014. And then 2017 was different. It was another tricky year for me because I'd come back from injury. So 2016 I was out with injury. I'd done my ACL at the end of 2015 and then got surgery early 2016. And so I was out for that whole year. I missed the summer and I missed the fall tour. I was really hoping to get back for fall tour, but I put too much pressure onto myself and didn't feel comfortable. So as soon as I bowed out of that, I was able to like really alleviate some stress I'd been putting on myself. But then, yeah, coming back into the fold in 2017 was another kind of like 0 to 100 kind of situation where it's like, you know, you come in the spring and you're doing your Can-Am training camp. And that one was quite ruthless because I remember we were at the end of the training camp and we'd done a week at Shawnigan, and then we were going to go down to San Diego for a week and play against the Americans. And so it was at just before the last training, Francois read out the roster of who was going to San Diego and who was staying. And so it didn't really give players any time to process if they had or hadn't been selected. And I remember there was a lot of emotions going on, and they had essentially 5 minutes to get their act together and then get out and train and do what's best for the team. So it was a very scary, scary time to be at in that training camp. But yeah, so fortunately, I was able to go down to the States and have a shot against the Americans, and then yeah, pick up from there. And it was very similar kind of to the 2014 build up where we had games against Americans, and then we went down to New Zealand, and then we went off to World Cup. And so I think that for myself, I know that I wanted 2017 to be a much different tournament than 2014 for me, in a sense that I wanted to be at my best and I wanted to be on the field. So yeah, it was very different.
Two different experiences altogether for you.
Mm-hmm.
How can you use that? I guess looking forward, this is a little bit ahead, but looking forward to 2021 in New Zealand, and you've got that experience of 2014 as you said, a doe-eyed youngster, to 2017 grinding it out. 2021, you know, you'll be a little bit wiser, a little more awareness on the pitch, things like that. What are you doing? What can you do, I guess, for that 2021 squad?
Like, what can I provide, or what am I like? What do I hope is my like vibe from it when I come out of there?
All of that, yeah.
What I'm hoping to bring is like expertise. Like, I want to be at my peak, but not just like my personal peak. I want to be like the global standard almost of an international lock. And so I think that being able to train in New Zealand and actually having games this year and playing has been a really good experience for me. And like, it sucks that there's been no rugby at home this year. It's been really difficult. But for myself, getting to be a part of the Fair Palmer Cup and getting to be able to play high quality rugby games this year has really been able to put me on the front foot. And so I'm really hoping that I can, bring that kind of experience and expertise. That's what I'm aiming for, at least.
So 2021 World Cup, they had the pool drawing last week, I think, and lo and behold, you're in with America. What does that mean? I mean, you've got, I think, Asia won and Europe won are the other two teams in your pool, in your pod. But USA, like, huge rivals. What
I love it.
Yeah.
Well, it's kind of funny because the way the pools kind of worked out, everyone's kind of stuck with their neighbor. It's like France and England, Australia, New Zealand, and us in America. So everyone's kind of stuck with their like biggest rivals, like the, you know, team that you dread playing the most, but also play the most often. So I'm looking forward to it. I think it's going to be a great matchup, and I can't wait. And then, Europe won. I mean, it's kind of hard because our pool is still so ambiguous. We've got Europe 1, which I assume will be Ireland, unless, Italy or Spain or Scotland pull up their socks.
Yeah.
And then I think it's either Asia one or it's like the repechage. So again, just another big question mark. It's cool because being down in New Zealand, I've got to meet some of the girls that play on the Samoa team, and they just made it into the repechage tournament. So I'm like, come on, Samoa, let's go. Like, you got this, girls. But yeah, again, it's still leaves a lot of question marks, but I'm really looking forward to that matchup. It's going to be such a good game.
It'll be awesome. And the other two, the Europe one for sure is going to be, you won't know for a little while because they've had to keep delaying that tournament, right? So I think they're aiming for February and try and get it played now, maybe.
Yeah. It's one of those things that's going to be up in the air, and you just hope that they can solve something sooner rather than later. But
Yeah.
I mean, for us, like, the prep doesn't really change. Like, we still know that we've got to come in our best form and be ready to take on anyone, anytime.
You want to be able to dictate the games and make them come to you and not you go to them, right? So
exactly. So I mean, it's going to be hard for us because you're going to want to, like, kind of get some background information on the teams, but
yeah,
at the same time, there's not a lot of games to get background information on, and the way rugby goes, things change quickly. Like, so one week a team's doing something, the next week they're not. So you really can't watch too many games into the past to, like, read up on what your teams are going to be doing. But I think playing against America, like, it's going to be a really good game. And I think we play pretty similar style too. So I think that will be really good to, like, kind of have someone that can go toe to toe with you in that regard.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be fun to watch.
Yeah.
You talk about the Farrah Palmer Cup, and we'll get to that right now. I want to play that.
One final. In this, we just had a line out and we lost it. So the hooker'd overthrown it, and Waikato have the ball. And so there's like 20 seconds left in the game, and we managed to turn it over. And I remember talking to the hooker, Georgia Ponsonby, after, and she was like, I was so lucky I got that turnover because I'd overthrown the ball, and all they had to do was hit up, and they would have just been able to kick it out. But instead, we turned it over, built a couple phases, and we got so close to the line. And I remember thinking here, I was like, Kendra better see this gap because I see this big gap in front of me. And then it's actually right after this one. I was like, I see a gap. There's a player between me and Kendra, and she misses her and hits me. And I was like, oh, thank God she passed me, because I was like, if we don't get this, like, it's over for us. And so you can see now I'm actually folded in half on the bottom of that pile.
You're like, I don't know how you get up there.
Yeah.
I just love the excitement.
Oh, don't tear a hammy, don't tear a hammy.
To the field for the fourth straight year.
Yeah, it was, that was out of movies. Like, I've never been in a game that, like, close and that intense, where you win in the last play in the 81st minute. So yeah, it was pretty exceptional game. I mean, to be fair, I did celebrate at least 3 tries that game before we actually scored a try. So I was like, about time. I gave you guys a chance to be the hero, and you didn't take it, so I guess I'll do it.
It's great. I mean, I just love the jubilation on all your teammates' faces as you're celebrating, and people getting crushed on the bottom of that pile.
Yeah.
I mean, like, as an old, I'm 44. I'm thinking, oh, I'm not getting up from that. But all of you did.
And, like, the other thing too is, like, I remember thinking in that game, I was like, probably around the 70th minute, I was like, you know what, we've lost, it's okay, we're still gonna have a good night, the girls have a 3-peat, they don't need a 4-peat, it's fine, like, whatever. And so I think once I flushed that kind of, like, expectation of, like, the future and focused back on the present, it actually allowed me to play better rugby. Yeah. And so I was like, oh, I should probably try doing that more often. Play
do a little sports psychology on yourself there.
Yeah, sports psych would be real proud of me, I think. Summer Christie would probably be real proud.
What's it like being an outsider playing in the land of rugby, a Canadian playing down in Kiwiville?
Yeah, it's pretty good, to be honest. I definitely took my time wading into the waters. I didn't want to turn up and go, oh, I think I'm so good at rugby, I'm going to do this and that, and tell them how it is, because I'm like, that is going to go down like a ton of bricks. Like, they're just going to be like, okay, lady, goodbye, you can go back to your homeland. Immigration, yeah, come pick her up. Like, so So yeah, I was like, okay, the first year that I got here, I just kind of played club and learned how they think about rugby and really just tried to take in what their views are and how they think of the game and the little differences and nuances that they have down here versus back home. And then the first season that I was on the Canterbury team, I kind of did the same thing. I kind of like stood back and kind of took things in and listened to people more than I spoke. And so I think that really helped me going forward into the next year as well. This year, I definitely feel like I stepped into more of a leadership role in a sense of just like taking on a few more responsibilities that I didn't in my rookie season. But yeah, there are definitely differences in the way they think about the game down here in a sense that just like the average player knows so much more about rugby and the average player is watching more rugby and talking about it more often and just really that much more involved in it. And I think that the way they have it set up down here for provincial rugby is a lot better than we have it back home in a sense that it's like a weekly game and you have time to like review tactics and go back to the drawing board and really reevaluate and like do that kind of trial and error process and really hone in on what you want to do each week. And so I've really valued that process. I think back home they do a good job with that at the university level. And then once you're done university, they kind of leave you to your own devices. And then the kind of development aspect of rugby doesn't really prevail. And it's more just about game. And that's it. And it's not really about that development of the rugby knowledge and the background and the kind of building of a team almost.
Yeah.
So
it's
been really good down here.
You say that I've been fortunate enough to have a lot of great guests on, and one of the ones was Sam Kane. He was on earlier with Tyler Hardron, and it was 2 days. I chatted with him 2 days before he got selected as captain, so he knew that obviously going in, but he didn't spill the bag there. But he and I and Lachlan Boshier chatted for 5 or 6 minutes before Tyler got on, and it was. I mean, I'm a Canadian. I know my rugby, but not to the extent he and Lachlan were just making small chat with me, and I'm like scribbling notes. I'm like, oh yeah, look at that's great.
That's a great idea.
But it was interesting because it's the land of rugby, and as we're getting ready, they're quarantining together with their girlfriends. Like, so the 4 of them are there, and he's got this beautiful house, and he's get their laptop set up, and he keeps checking over his shoulder and he keeps adjusting. And I realized he had a game on the background and he wanted part of that in the video. I was like, well, he's done this before.
Yeah, he knows what he's doing. Yeah.
But speaking of the New Zealand thing, talk to us about that Barbarian selection. That was cool. Like, a lot of great experiences. Tough loss in that second game. I think you only lost by 2. The first game, it was a little bit more. I think it was a 20-point spread. But how excited were you to get that call for that selection, and then those 2 wicked matches? Like, Barbarians it's an amazing thing to be a part of.
Yeah, it was honestly so cool. It was such a good experience, and I'm just so grateful that I got to be there and was able to be a part of that team. I was joking actually, like kind of the week before the selections were announced and like players, because a bunch of the girls on the Canterbury team got called to go for the probables versus possibles, like the kind of Black Ferns training camp. So they were all talking about going and their selections and la la la. And I was just joking, being like, haha, I imagine if I was like called up to the team, haha, that'd be so funny, la la la. And then, later that week I got a phone call from our S&C coach, and she was like, so are you available during these times? Like, do you think you could talk to work and see if you could get the time off? And I was like, yeah, I will do that right now. And like immediately went and talked to my manager. I was like, so what do we think about time off? But yeah, it was honestly like, I was ecstatic. I was just like, yes, 2 more weeks of great rugby. You sign me up, please. Yeah, I'll be there. And I mean, for me, it's been, I think, since May 2019. So that's like what, over a year and a half ago, where before, like that was the last time I was away for a rugby training camp kind of thing like that, where it's like, you're just focused on rugby and nothing else. So for me, it's been a while, and it was kind of refreshing to kind of step back into that and be like, right, this is how it all works. Great. Yep. Check. Still got it. Still can handle it. My body can still handle 2-a-day training sessions. Okay, great. So yeah, it was unreal. And like, I don't know, the girls like were so welcoming. I didn't feel like an outsider. I didn't feel like other. I felt like part of the team. And I think that it was definitely interesting because the way it works is they had a week of kind of Black Ferns training camp, so I wasn't invited to that. And then the week after that was Barbarians, and then the Black Ferns kind of split off. And so the first day that I showed up, I'm showing up all excited because I'm like, yay, I just get to be here. This is so great. But meanwhile, I'm with all the girls that had just got cut from the Black Ferns. So there's a bit of dark feelings in the room. And so again, same thing of just like me not reading the room, turning up, yeah, real excited and not. So I think it was good for me to kind of show up and be like, right, rein it in. And then go through that kind of process of building that team with them because a lot of them hadn't played together before either. Like, so it was kind of nice for us to have those few days to kind of build, but it did kind of put us behind. So like our first game against the Black Ferns, you could see we were still getting our feet. We were still trying to figure out how each other plays together. And so I think those kind of day or two of us kind of being a bit sour at the start did kind of put us behind a couple days. But like, you know, at the end of that 2 weeks, we really came together as a team. And it really did remind me of like Canadian rugby, like going away with the Canadian team. Cause like you turn up and, you know, you haven't seen these girls in good couple months, and then you throw it together in about 5 days and you play against some of the best in the world. And so I'm like, yeah, this feels just like home. Like this is very familiar to me. So for me, it was just,
you were ready, but they might not have been.
yeah, exactly. So, but it was interesting too, because a lot of the players on that team were much younger. So you had like, I think our 10 was 17 years old. And so like, there's some really young players on that team. So it was a little bit interesting for me to kind of have to step into that and be like, okay, oh, I'm actually one of the like mature players kind of driving the team culture almost, which is not a place that I'm very familiar with because I'm used to showing up and everyone's already on the same page. We already know like tick, 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 this is how it goes. And so for me to show up and be like, oh, people don't know that like you need to be early to meetings. You don't show up late. Like you need to be in the proper kit and, you know, follow all these rules and show up to meeting times prepared with your books. So it was little things like that that I was like, oh, right, okay, like
I can tell you that.
Let's go, yeah. So it was interesting.
That's neat. All right, so Cindy, we're at our section where we do our quick fire, and you said you listened to a couple pods, so you know the questions. There might be a few new ones, I'm not sure, so yeah. We'll see.
Wait 1 second. On the did you get a chance to watch either of the games, the Black Ferns Barbarians?
No,
games?
I couldn't find a clip anywhere.
Okay, I'll have to send you a sneaky link. But if you do watch, or I guess another good one to check out would be the Black Ferns Instagram page. But me being a stupid, ignorant foreigner in this country, I was like grumbling and being like, oh, the haka, like,
what did you do?
Why do they need to do? No, I didn't do anything. I was just like grumbling to myself, being like, oh, and then this is probably going to be one of those things I put my foot in my mouth and then I'm like, yo, can you cut this out after? But anyhow, so yeah, me being the foreigner going, oh, the haka, like, okay, well, I'll stand here and watch it. And I think part of me is just a bit jealous that Canada doesn't have something interesting to do in response, like something meaningful to do. And so I just am like, from my Canadian experience is I stand on the 10-meter line and I look like a dummy. And that's about all you can do to the response. But being here in New Zealand, getting to learn about the like Maori culture and learning about what it means to them, and then getting to experience the haka in a not so formal way. Like when it's an international match, they have a lot of rules, you know, you can't cross the 10-meter line, all that good stuff. But because this wasn't an international match, they could do what they wanted. And so in the second game, they started at the half and advanced to us on our 10-meter line. So if you actually check out the, I think the Black Ferns Instagram page has a clip of it showing them advancing and us advancing to meet them. And I think in that moment, it made me really appreciate the challenge and what the haka represents, and that they were inviting us to a challenge and that they were wanting us to bring a good game. And so I just remember standing there thinking, oh, okay, it's going to be like that. Yeah, let's go. Like, let's actually
This is
do this. You
real.
guys want a challenge? We'll bring a challenge.
And it
And
was.
so that really shifted it for me. And I'm like very much more appreciative of it and very much more grateful for it. And I was like, okay, like this actually has merit and this actually has value.
I'm going to take a look there when we're done. I'll see if I can find that.
Yeah, for sure. It's definitely worth a watch.
If I can find it, I'll add it in. How's that?
Okay, perfect. Yeah, perfect.
All right. So let's jump into our quick fire.
Yeah.
Best team you've ever faced? I think I know the answer.
Yeah, it's going to be the Black Ferns, but it's going to be the Black Ferns of 2017.
2017?
Yeah.
Okay.
Lock it in.
Best player you ever faced?
Oh, I'm gonna say Kendra Coxedge.
Okay. Who's the toughest player you ever faced? And when I ask that, I mean the person that you look up, it's a 1v1 and you're just praying that they knock the ball on or they trip or something.
Oof. I'm gonna say Latoya Blackwood because when she runs with the ball, she doesn't step, or she does, but she steps into you, not away from you.
What's the best match you were ever a part of?
Oh, so many to choose from. Oh.
Do you go international? Do you go,
Yeah.
like you get
There's so many.
McMaster?
Okay. No, I'm gonna go with just the most recent one that's on my mind. And I'm gonna say, to be honest, the Barbarians versus Black Ferns, our second game was a pretty big match. And then maybe before that would be the Canterbury versus Waikato final. So those are my top two in recent memory.
If you can find that second match of the Barbarians game, send me the link. I'd like to watch that.
Yeah, I'll see what I can finagle.
What's your favorite rugby tradition?
I love the nominating the man of the match and the boat race that ensues.
Yes. Yeah, those are good ones.
Yeah.
Who's the best team you've played with?
I mean, it's got to be Canada, but in terms of structure of season and timing, it's going to be Canterbury.
Okay. I think that's reasonable.
Yeah.
What's your nickname?
I've gotten a couple good ones actually recently. One of the girls last week one of the girls on the Barbarians tour was calling me Big Loon. Because I taught her how to do that stupid loon call that you do with your hands.
Can you do that? Let's hear it.
Yeah, okay.
Not bad.
Not bad.
It's better than I can do.
Yeah. So she was calling me Big Loon.
You've been away from Canada for too long, I think.
I know. Well, that's the thing. I'm like, I need to maintain my Canadian citizenship somehow. Like, all I can do is wear plaid and do the loon call. Like, what do I have left? There's no Timmy's here. I can't get poutine. What's, I gotta earn my stripes. But I've got Big Loon, Canadian Crusher. Before that, I had CN Tower. And then my personal favorite is Cindy the Loch Nelles Monster.
It's a lot to say, but it's a clever one.
Yeah, not really nicknames per se. Like, they don't really shorten anything, but they've been some goodies.
Is there some Scottish in your heritage too, or?
Yeah, I'm sure there's got to be something.
It's got to be. All right, who's the player that you love to smash?
Oh, that's a toughie. There's a lot. I definitely really value playing against people I know too, and I make it extra sure to rub their face in the mud. Recently, because I've been in New Zealand for so long, and you play club against the girls that you play Canterbury with. So recently, it's been Pip Love. Love winding her up on the field, just getting in her head, just chirping a little bit. So I'll say Pip.
Sounds good. Do you have any rugby superstitions?
Oh, I try to get rid of them if I get them. I like to make sure that I have a good pregame dance, get some good beats going in the change room, and bust out some moves just to really chill the vibe. But not really superstitious necessarily. All
right, I tour New Zealand with my family. You invite us over. What are you spinning on your record player?
660. Do you know who they are?
Nope.
It's a Kiwi band, so you'll have to give them a check out. But
Is it like-
no.
What type of music is it?
They're kind of like pop rockish, I guess, or like
okay.
they call them maybe reggae, but it's not like reggae as you'd think of it. It's like New Zealand reggae. It's kind of different vibes. No, yeah, I don't know. I just listen to whatever's on the radio and top 40. I love good Lady Gaga.
Yeah,
Get
she's
that
not
on the
bad.
karaoke machine, and that's like me done.
What's your favorite Lady Gaga song?
Oh, I mean, love throwing it back to Just Dance, like the OG Lady Gaga, but really anything, any Lady Gaga track, I will be there for it.
All right, I got to throw this out because when people and you didn't do this, but when people tell me their favorite rugby tradition is singing after the first cap, I get them to sing that song. So I'd love for you to sing a little Lady Gaga for us,
like right now.
just to throw you on the spot. I just want to see how it goes.
Actually, my voice is a bit scratchy. Maybe I shouldn't.
Yeah, we have to finish the questions. All right, that's fair.
Yeah.
All right, so do you golf?
Just recently started, yeah.
All right, so 3 people you would take on a weekend golfing trip. Could be rugby players. They don't have to be. Could be dead. Could be alive.
Could be dead or alive, huh? Okay. I feel like I want the Dalai Lama.
That's a good one.
I feel like I want I want to say Martin Luther King.
Oh, that'd be a good one too.
And I want to say
you got to take somebody funny to break it up a little bit, I think now.
I think I could carry that.
Could be you?
Do you think I'm funny? Okay, no, just me? Okay, that's fine. That's fine. Yeah, okay, right, some comedy. Oh, let's see. And like a Jim Carrey.
A little Canadian content.
Take it back. Melissa McCarthy.
She's good too. Yeah, that'd be fun. That'd be a good.
What a bunch.
That'd be a good group. I don't know how the Dalai Lama would make out.
Yeah, upon review, that's probably the most like different group of people, but
I imagine you get along all right. Yeah. Who was your childhood
I feel like we'd get
hero?
into some really good live chats. That's what I'm hoping for.
Who was your childhood hero?
It's like a rugby hero who I really looked up to, and it is Megan Gibbs, and she played for the national team as like lock flanker 8 kind of person, and she came to one of the Ontario training sessions and like kind of helped coach a little bit, and I remember just having that as like my first memory of a rugby player that I really looked up to and like idolized. And I remember I convinced my mom to drive. They had games in Burlington that summer, and I convinced my mom to drive me to the game so we could watch. And after the game, I like went up to her, and like my mom had to prod me, and I remember going up to her and being like, "Can I get a photo with you, please?" And yeah, so that would be one of my like rugby heroes growing up, would be Megan Gibbs.
What's the most used app on your phone?
The
way you're talking about dancing, I think it's TikTok, but I could be wrong.
No. Recently, it's been Instagram. Unfortunately, I'm trying to quit those social media apps, but
they're hard. All right, chips or cookies?
Oh, chips for sure.
What kind?
Salt and vinegar.
Nice.
All the way.
French fries or onion rings?
French fries.
French fries or poutine?
Poutine.
Nice. Favorite beer?
Oh, don't drink it.
Okay. Any wine, anything like that?
Like sometimes I'll have a cider.
Okay.
The beer that I can just drink the fastest, that's pretty much the one I go for. I don't really pick one out and go, I'm going to enjoy this. I just would rather not.
All right. What's a guilty pleasure?
Salmon or chips.
Yeah, I hear that.
Big glass of chocolate milk on the side, or any ice cream. Actually, ice cream. That's like my weakness, my kryptonite.
What kind?
For sure. Oh, probably like mint chocolate chip is always a good go-to, or anything with like peanut butter and chocolate.
Yeah, peanut butter and chocolate's mine. My wife's is a mint chocolate chip. I can't do that. I'm not sure.
Yeah, some people have a hard time with that. They're like, it's too much like, minty. It shouldn't be a food flavor,
I think so.
Yeah.
What series are you binge watching right now?
I recently started watching Love on the Spectrum,
Never heard of that
which
one.
is about people with autism and their kind of like dating lives, and so that's been really like heartwarming and
Wow.
just the kind of content that I need right now. But I also do enjoy like a Brooklyn Nine-Nine or like
Yeah.
a Schitt's Creek or something like that.
Yeah, good laugh fests.
Yeah, for sure.
What's your favorite movie?
I like Bridesmaids or anything with Tina Fey and Amy Poehler.
Yep. Bridesmaids is hilarious.
Yeah.
All right. Who would play you in the Netflix movie of your life?
I'm hoping Tina Fey, but if she's not available, I will accept Gal Gadot.
I think that's good.
Yeah.
All right. Who would play the leading opposite?
Anna Kendrick? I don't know.
Okay. And what would the movie be called? Many nicknames to choose from, I think, but
Yeah. I honestly, that's a great one. Canadian Crusher Down Under.
there you go. That's good.
There you go.
Who had the biggest impact on you as a player? I mean, there's probably still people that have an impact on you, but helping you get to the national team, getting to New Zealand, working your way through McMaster. I'm sure there's a lot of people, but who are some of those ones that stand out that if you could write them a letter of thanks, who are those people?
Yeah, definitely. Like anyone that's helped me along the way deserves a thank you letter. But my dad would be a big one for getting me started on rugby and just being so supportive, and my mom as well for just getting us to our sports. My grandmother as well, she was really involved in our upbringing and making sure that we were involved in sports and like just getting out there. But then also in terms of like coaches, Sean Allen had a really big impact, and Tim Doucette at McMaster. Getting to work with them for a good 5 years or 3 years, I guess, really helped form me as a player and just like allowed me to develop into the player that I am. So I guess those would be big ones. And then a player that I would say really helped for me would actually be Jo Robinson from Belleville. She is just someone that I've always like admired and looked up to when I was like starting rugby, and she was just great player, great club player, like great just like in terms of she's coached, she was involved, she was active. Yeah, so those are the few that I would throw it out to, I guess, to start.
It's nice. It's real nice. I really like this question here. Let's do a little I guess back to the future, but just going to the future. Let's fast forward. It is now 2041. So 20 years after the 2021 Rugby World Cup. You're, mid 40s. You have a reunion with the girls, polishing your medals. What do you want those teammates of yours to be saying about you 20 years later?
Yeah, I want them to be saying that I was a good team player and that I put the team first, and that I was selfless and just like made the atmosphere very welcoming and made the team a good place to be.
I think as a coach, because I'm a coach now, that's what you would want to ask. That's what you would want all your players to say. So that's awesome. How many years do you see yourself left playing rugby?
At least one. And if my body allows it, maybe a few more, but at least one.
See how it goes, I guess, right?
Yeah, we'll see how it goes. You never know, right? You just get one game at a time. So,
but the World Cup after 2021, I mean, you might be 30, right? You still could be plugging for that.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough because you have to make so many sacrifices to play rugby and to do it at this level. And I think I know that I want to go to this World Cup, and then after that, I'm going to take some time to reevaluate and see where I go. It's too early to say the R word. Don't want to say that, but don't know when I'm going to hang up the boots. But I've got at least 1 year left in me of good fight.
That's exciting. I'm excited to see that. So boots are hanging up eventually. We're not talking about it. So you're doing your civil engineering now. It's a Canadian company in New Zealand. Is that where your passion is as an employee? Like, do you see yourself continuing that into the future?
Yeah, definitely. I really enjoy the challenges of my job, and I love that I get to learn every day. Like at work, I get to come in and I'm always learning something new about something that I don't quite know enough about. And I'm always asking questions and working with people. And I really love those aspects of my job. And I can see myself really starting to build into that and like get into actual kind of career mode. When you start, you're kind of green and you don't really know things and you're kind of scrambling. But then as you start to like get a little bit of knowledge, then you really start to see this snowball effect of then you learn more and then you want to do more and then you want to learn more and then so on and so forth. So yeah, I love what I do and I love the people that I work with. Like it's just every day coming to work, I'm like, yeah, this is great. Like, so I consider myself pretty lucky.
Well, that's good because you never get bored. There's something different. You have to constantly be thinking. That's really good.
Yeah.
Last thing, Cindy, any great rugby stories you can share with us?
Oof.
Throw an old teammate under the bus, throw yourself under the bus,
Oh yeah. Oh, there's so many good ones.
Okay, so we were U20 Canada tour to England. And so coach at the time was Sandro, and then we had Jen Boyd, John Lavery, and Dan Valley as staff on tour. And, U20, it's super exciting. It's your kind of first rugby tour. And so it's like just a really good vibe, really good time. So we were there, we played against England, South Africa, and the US. And so, staff was there to help us out and make sure things were running smoothly. So one of the things that we did was hydration testing. So every morning you pee in this tiny little cup and then they put it into this little device that measures if you're hydrated or not. And so that morning it was Dan Valley that was running the hydration machine. I don't know. He must have drawn the short straw. I'm not sure. But one of the girls decided it'd be funny to prank him by putting water in her cup and pretending to trip and spilling the water on him. And so I remember she had like kind of prepped us all saying like, oh, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. And I think it might've been Danny Robb, but don't quote me on that. And so anyhow, she's got this cup of water. It's her turn. She's at the front of the line. And then just trips, throws the water on Dan Valley. And he's like, like kind of freaking out a little bit. And then she's like, oh no, just kidding. Like it's water. So I think eventually he had a laugh about that. So that was a good one. But yeah, generally just like pranking people on tours, like scare cam is like one of my favorite things to try and do, where you just like hide behind the curtains in someone's room and then jump out and freak them out. Yeah, so that's pretty good. One story from the field would be I was playing U17 Ontario, and we were playing against the U19 team at nationals because U17 didn't have nationals, I guess, that year. And I remember we were playing against them, and kickoff goes off, and I'm like super fizzed up for the game. Like I'm so excited, like on adrenaline, ready to go. First kickoff, the ref blows their whistle to kick off, and then kick goes, I chase. The ref had apparently blown their whistle a second time because they didn't start their watch. I didn't hear this, I was in my headgear, running full steam ahead, ready to make that tackle. And it was Maggie Cogger-Orr who caught the ball, and I just come screaming in and flatten her. And she's on the other side of that being like, whoa, like trying to stop me. And I'm just like, nope, it's lights out. And so I just absolutely flatten her. And then I'm so stoked. I was like, I made such a good tackle. This is so good. She stands up over top of me and is like, if you ever do that again, I will kick your ass. And she had such a mouth, like just running her mouth at me. And I was like, oh shit, this girl is going to kill me. And then I ended up going to university with her, and then we kind of patched things over then. The first day of university, she's like, just so you know, like, I don't hate you. And I was like super terrified of her. Actually, still a little bit terrified of her, but yeah. So yeah, that would be another one.
I've had a great time chatting with you. I really enjoy getting to learn about your life and growing up playing rugby and where you are now. And I wish you nothing but the best of luck in the future. And I and many other Canadians can't wait to see you on the pitch in 2021 representing Canada and going for the gold there at the Rugby World Cup.
Awesome. Well, thanks for having me. It's been so much fun.
It has. Cheers. All right. Thanks, Cindy. I had a blast. That was a lot of fun. Huge thanks to you for taking some time out of your day. She's sitting, it was basically her lunch break, and I think she took an extended lunch break. So we had a long conversation and had a lot of laughs and heard a lot of great stories. So thank you very much, Cindy. Truly appreciate that. Want to wish you nothing but the best of luck as you prep for the 2021 Rugby World Cup there in New Zealand where you are. It's going to be great. You girls ranked third in the world right now. It's going to be a great spectacle, and we're all pulling for you and excited for all of you right now. Coming up next, we got a few other great guests. We got Kyle Bailey coming up next, followed by Derek Daypuck, Dr. Maria Gallo, Evan Olmsted and I are still trying to nail down a date to chat, Dr. Robert Strang, as I said, and Nick Blevins as well, and then a host of others. So we still have a lot of names on tap, which is exciting. Just remember though, if you want to request somebody, just let me know and I'll do my best to track them down. I'm starting to get a lot of contacts here that are willing to help find other people. And so if you're interested in hearing from somebody, just let me know. So thank you, listeners. Just keep spreading the good rugby word, as I say every time. This is about spreading rugby news for Canadians, and make sure when you hear podcasts or you see one when I tweet it out or put it on Instagram or the Facebook, push it out yourself, like reshare, just so other people get a chance to hear this and gain some knowledge of some of these great rugby Canadian athletes that we have. As always, I got to thank my son Rylan for building us our music for the intro and outro. If this is your first pod, my son's 12 years old and he created our music on his computer. He's pretty proud of that. It's pretty neat. And as always, feel free to request topics, questions you want me to ask, anything like that. I always look forward to hearing. But until next time, this is Jamie. Stay state. There you go. Look at that. It's a Sunday morning while I'm doing this. I'm not quite awake, I guess. Try that one more time. This is Jamie. Stay safe, stay healthy, stay sane, and most importantly, keep on rucking.